Hey, this is the Budman, and you're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. Now to our studio and your host, local real estate expert and my friend, Laura Peterson.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. To discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So many good things to talk to you guys about today. And first of all is going over the stats in regards to what's going on. Last week, there were 398 single-family homes that sold, which was up from 346 the week before. So still a healthy amount of properties that are selling. The median price of a single-family home is $410,000 this week. So that's down a little bit, but not too much. It's still within where we're going on a weekly basis and all of that kind of good stuff. The inventory increased by 174, and so that's at 4767. So when you're looking at that and you're wondering how many months inventory we've got, it's 2.76 based on the number of properties that sold last week. And basically, it comes down to that when you're looking for under $250,000, there were 37 of the 398 that sold under $250,000, 32 between $250,000 and $300,000, 117 between $300,000 and $400,000, 85 between $400,000 and $500,000, 105 between $500,000 and $1 million, and 21 of them over $1 million. So the months of inventory under $250,000, there's only 1.6. 1.66 between $250,000 and $300,000, 1.75 between $300,000 and $400,000, $400,000 and $500,000 is 2.62 months, and then $500,000 to $1 million is 4 months, and then 6 months over $1 million. So basically, a normal market in that 500 to over $1 million is kind of where we're sitting in regards to our market right now. Overall, the list of sale price was at 97.96, and it was 97.14 and 97.06 up to 300,000, and then it goes to 98.56 between 300 and 400,000, 98.56 between 400 and 500,000, 98.55 between 500 and $1 million, and 95.57 over $1 million. So again, quite interesting there that everything is staying pretty close to asking outside of over $1 million, which, kind of makes sense. There's usually a little bit more negotiating room there. Then when you're looking at the condos, townhomes, and villas, there were 117 that sold last week versus 120 the week before. And the median price of the condos, townhomes, and villas was $281. Remember, it was $410 for the single family homes. So that's staying pretty consistent and everything as well. The inventory increased by 60, and that's at 1866, which turns out to be a total of let me see how many months of inventory were sitting there. 3.70 in the months of inventory for the condos, townhomes, and villas. It's at 2.7 under 250, and then they're all in the threes up until you get up to the 400 and above. Then you're at 5.68. 500 to $1 million was at 9.19, and none of them sold over $1 million. There's 7 of them on the market. So, but the week before there was one that sold. So, they're holding their own and everything there. So when you're looking at the list to ask price overall, there is 97.86. So again, holding really good when you're looking at the condos, townhomes, and villas. I keep trying to say single family home, but condos, townhomes, and villas, basically under 250 of those, 47 of the 117 sold under 250. So if you are budget, then that's something that I would definitely look at, is the condos, townhomes, and villas, in order to make things better for you in regards to that. And 400, there were 34 and 13 400 to 500, and 600 to a million, 500 to a million, and like I said, none of them that sold over $1 million. So basically, when you're looking at our stats and what's going on, again, very consistent in regards to what's happening. And so that means that, you know, the prices are kind of staying the same and buyers are able to find what they're looking for. Not necessarily on market, but there's off market properties that buyers are getting to, and they're becoming more and more prevalent out there. So we specialize in finding off market properties, and that's one of my favorite things to do, is to be able to find those properties. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio, with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. Remember, if you'd like to reach us at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, you can call or text at 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So looking at, the overall month of August, because those numbers came out this week as well. And when you're looking at that, the median price of homes in 2023 of August was $375,000. Now, when I was talking about the houses being at $410,000, and then the condos, townhomes, and villas are $281,000. So this is everything all together. They're not separated out here. So $375,000 is the median price. The median price a year ago, August of 2022, was $377,750. So that was a change of 0.7%. So like I said, everything is pretty stable. It's not going up. It's not going down. It's staying very consistent in regards to what's happening. In August, like I said, it was $375. In July, it was $380. So again, just very consistent in regards to where it's at. When you're looking at the average price in August of 2023 was $447,376. And August of 22 was $434,313. So depending on what stat you're looking at, again, it's very consistent with where it's at. It was a little bit higher in the average price than it was a year ago, but again, pretty consistent. The number of properties that sold in August of 2023 was 2792, of which August of 22 was 3324. So we're down 16% in the number of properties that sold. So that's kind of interesting in regards to what's going on. The inventory in August of 2023 is 6113. And the inventory in August of 22 was 6762. So we're down about 10% in regards to the number of properties that are actually on the market and everything. Average days on the market is a little bit higher, 41 versus 27 a year ago. Average days to sale obviously kind of follows along with that. The months of supply is pretty much the same, 2.19 versus 2.03. So that's staying, pretty consistent and everything as well. So when you're looking at the interest rate a year ago, August of 22 was at 5.29. And in August of 23 was at 6.58 overall, which is down a little bit because July of 23 was 6.84. So the interest rate, does vary a little bit. These are on the houses that actually sold, during that point in time. And so I just think it's really interesting to look at the whole big picture. So, everybody's concerned about the interest rates. And like I said, it does, have an impact, but it's not stopping people from buying. So that's good news for all of the sellers and the buyers and everything out there, that there's ways to get it done. And one of the things that I've seen people do is that they've actually paid some points and they've bought the interest rate down. And then that way they're making their loan more affordable throughout the whole time that they've got it. So it's actually a great thing that is available. So when you're looking at the gross rate, there are things that you can do to bring it down, and a lot of people do, and that just makes sense. But, we're always talking about marrying the house and dating the rate, so you can always refinance later as well. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. Now, I know I've talked about the My Safe Florida Home before, but it's in full effect, and it's saying that you need to apply for it soon because the $10,000 mitigation grants are going to be running out of funds soon. There was the Florida Hometown Heroes, and that ran out of money a few weeks ago, and so now they're thinking that this, My Safe Florida Home is also potentially going to be running out of money as well. So it's time to apply and get everything done. So basically, homeowners are encouraged to apply soon for up to $10,000 grants. It's $2 for every dollar of matching funds. So basically, under the program, all Florida homeowners can receive free home inspection, and after applying possibly qualify for up to $10,000 in funds to help improve any recommendations suggested by that inspection. The funds are $2 for every dollar spent matched. So a homeowner spending $15,000 would pay $5,000 out of pocket after being reimbursed the $10,000. So great deal, right? So it just seems like it would make sense to do that. So you can check the website for complete participation rules, but cover improvements, if recommended, include upgrade to roofs, roof wall reinforcements, window glass, exterior doors, and garage doors. Eligible homes would have an insured value no higher than $700,000, an increase from the current $500,000, and low-income Florida homeowners can get $10,000 without spending their own money, an increase from the current $5,000. So basically, it's been a big success, allowing Florida families to harden their homes against storms by installing impact-resistant items like windows, doors, garage doors. And since 2022, they've approved nearly 19,000 grant applications, conducted more than 70,000 free home inspections, and reserved more than $189 million in home hardening grants. So the Petronas said that the improvements have saved participating Florida homeowners about $1,000 per year on their property insurance costs alone. And the program also expanded effectively July 1st of this year, basically in order to do that after the Florida legislature approved an expansion to help homeowners outside higher risk areas too. So the program is still taking applications, though it's unclear it will be able to help everyone who applied using current money. Applications will remain active, however, and the Florida legislature could allow additional funds during the 2024 legislative session. So due to its success, the program has received more than 800 new applications a day. So it's critical that refunded next year so more Floridians can benefit, Petronas said. So there were 70,392 home inspections have been completed. 18,900 home hardening grants have been approved, and $189.3 million home hardening grant funding reserve funds have been spent, and it saves average of $1,032 annual homeowner insurance premium savings just by the inspection. So basically, I would search, because I'm not sure what the website is, but My Safe Florida Home, Stronger Homes, Safer Florida is what this program is, and you might be able to get yourself at least a home inspection that would save you $1,000 on your insurance, which I know I did my own inspection on my house last year, and it's about coming up for renewal. My insurance renews in December, and it did save me $1,000 on my insurance, just by doing that inspection. So it totally makes sense for you to do that. And if the state's going to pay for it so that you can save on your insurance costs and potentially get a grant if there's something that you need that they discover. And so it can end up being a good thing. So again, it's called My Safe Florida Home, Stronger Homes, Safer Florida. So something for you to consider and to look at. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. Remember, if you'd like to reach me at your home sold guaranteed realty, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. There's another thing that's going on with a grant that's happening here in Orlando, and it's a HUD Affordable Planning Grant that's happening. Daytona Beach, Gainesville, and Orlando each receive $500,000, and that's 3 metros out of 14 selected by HUD by affordable housing grants. Now, where this is happening in Orlando, the Choice Neighborhoods is Lift Orlando Inc. is doing it, and it's the Housing Authority of the City of Orlando, and the target public housing project is the Lorna Doone Apartments and the Lake Man Homes. And so basically they're going to be looking at what they can do on that, kind of towards the Orlando Camping World Stadium area, which is the center of the West Lakes Lake Man neighborhood. And so they're going to be looking at what they're going to be doing there, but there's a grant coming in there for $500,000, so that makes sense. Another study that I learned about is it talks about affordable housing homes don't hurt home values when they're in your neighborhood. And I know that, sometimes it's like you're looking at that and you're wondering, how does that affect my neighborhood if those kinds of things are going on? Well, in my opinion, if they're coming in there with a $500,000 grant in that Lake Man neighborhood and they're going to improve it, then that's just going to make everything rise around it and everything. So what they've done the studies, and they found that basically, we all live great together, which is always awesome and everything. So I just thought that was good and everything to make sure that everybody's on the same page and working together to make our community better. It's like whenever there's new construction and anything like that goes on, or new housing, then basically it makes the area better. It definitely does that. I know that if you drive around town and everywhere you look, you see elevator stacks first, the concrete areas, and then all of a sudden there's new apartment buildings that are there, and they look great, and they command a pretty penny for those renting them, which is why we're always like, hey, you really need to look at if you can actually go ahead and afford to buy something as opposed to renting. You lock in that rate that you're going to have and what your payment is and all of that kind of good stuff. And there's lots of great opportunities and everything out there. I know that there's one first-time buyer that I was working with this week that put themselves in a new home construction. It's going to be done next March. But, we got $20,000 in closing costs from the seller, from the builder, and they're actually going to be buying down the interest rate. So it's going to be in the high fives and everything. So it just makes it much more affordable for them and everything like that, moving into that new construction. But there's a lot of opportunity and that kind of thing out there in new construction. So if you're looking for it, we can certainly help you get whatever you're trying to find. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So looking at really, I was looking at something that how home buyers win. And I get asked this question, all the time, like, how do you really, go about it? How do you find those off-market properties? How do you win as a buyer out there? And, like I mentioned in the last segment, there's a lot of things that you can do that the sellers can help you with. Maybe they're going to help you with closing costs. Maybe they're going to help you with, maybe a home warranty, different things that come into play here. But basically, there's things that you can do to make yourself easier to win. And the first thing that comes down to it is to get yourself financed and know where you're at financially first. Because the worst thing for somebody to do is to go out there and look at homes that are probably 50 to 100,000 more than what they can afford. And then they find out that they can't afford that house. And then everything else that they look at is much less desirable than what they were looking at before, because it's 50 to 100,000 less. And I'm talking if you're in that 300 to 400,000 range. If you're in the $1 million range, 100,000 isn't necessarily, that big a deal. But when you're looking at 25% more than what you can actually afford, it's a big difference in regards to what's happening. So I'm just looking at kind of what the median price is of a single family home we talked about today was $410,000. So if you're looking at something that's $500,000 versus $400,000, it's going to make a big difference in regards to what's going on, 20% higher than what you can actually afford. So that's a big number, and something that, we don't want you to fall in love with that house and then you're not able to afford it. So that's why starting with the finances first is always the first place where we want you to go. And the other thing that happens is that you want to make sure that really, what's going on, because there could be some little thing that's going on in your finances that you're not even aware of that has an effect in what you're doing. I'm working with somebody right now that they have a full-time job and they're looking at changing careers, but they're also looking at buying a house, and they definitely have to get that house bought before they change careers, because when you do that, you're going to be starting all over. You're not going to have the wherewithal that the lenders feel comfortable with and everything like that. Even though you could be making more money in your new career, they're still going to be skeptical about that, because you don't have the proof in the pudding that for the last 2 years that you've been working steady, on that job. Is it going to work or is it not going to work? And I know that it probably is going to work, but they just don't want to take that chance. They're very conservative when it comes to those things. So when it does come to getting your finances in order, you don't want to be changing jobs in the middle of it. Occasionally you can do that if you're staying in the same field, but if you're going to a different field, definitely not a good plan to do that. We had a situation a few years ago where a guy, he was closing in February, and he was buying a house that we had on the market. And what had happened is that he had always been working for the same company. He was continuing to work for the same company, and he was making $35,000 in wages, and then he was making $35,000 in bonuses. In January of that year, the company came to him and they said, you've been making this $70,000 in wages and bonuses consistently for the last 5 years. And so we're just going to go ahead and give you a pay increase, and that as if you're making $70,000, and we're just going to make it salary, and that's it, period. And so nobody thought anything of it or anything really necessarily, and we honestly didn't know anything about it because the lender said everything was great. And it was a regular bank that was doing the loan. And the day of the closing, the guy was all packed up, ready to move in. The seller had moved out, all of that good stuff. And the day of the closing, what happened is that the buyer, the bank that the buyer was using said, "I'm sorry, we are we cannot approve this loan. We did our final check of your employment, and you're no longer getting the bonuses. And so they took his average pay over the last 2 years down to $35,000 and didn't include the bonuses, even though now he was a W-2 making $70,000. They wouldn't go along with it. And it was very upsetting for the seller, obviously very upsetting for the buyer. A lot of things that happened as a result of that. It was kind of a domino effect. The seller was buying a new home, and all kinds of things were going on. And so, we were, thinking on our feet, and we got a new buyer in that home immediately. We got a cash buyer that could close within a week and all of that kind of stuff. But that buyer was really, out to lunch, and he didn't even change jobs. The only thing that happened was they took his bonuses and made it into salary. Now, there are some banks that could have gone and been logical and said, hey, he's still making $70,000. It's the same company. They just changed the pay plan and the way that he was getting paid, which has actually made it more secure. But this particular bank said no, they weren't going to do it. And so the deal was dead. So, when it comes down to it, you have to be so careful when you're going through that lending process is my whole point in saying all of that. So getting your finances straight and keeping them the way that they are once you've talked to the lender is absolutely critical. So if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. Remember, if you'd like to reach us at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So basically, way to win is having your finances all set up and all of that kind of good stuff. So you want to make sure that you do that. Next, you want to make sure that you've got the right agent. And of course, I'm biased, and I think that we are definitely the right agent for you to use in that. Whether you're going to find something on the multiple listing service, which is the stuff that you might find on Realtor.com or Zillow or any of those places, or if you're going to find an off-market property, and those might be people that aren't even really necessarily thinking that they're going to be selling when we contact them. And so, like I said, we've been pretty successful in finding off-market properties for people when they're hard to find and there's not a lot out there. There is a little bit more inventory than there was a year ago, like we talked about, but not enough to really make a difference. So if you're looking in a specific neighborhood or something and you want a specific home, like you say you want a 2-story or you want a 1-story, and there's only 2 stories on the market in that neighborhood, instead of settling, why don't we go ahead and find out if those people that are selling that would do a 1-story home would be interested in selling to you and everything. So we are able to identify those people and take it to the next level. So that's why it's so important to have the right agent. Then, shop smarter with tech. So one of the things that anybody that I've worked with will be able to tell you is that if you do look at the properties online, you can't necessarily judge them based on what you see online. Sometimes it's going to be the same, but 99% of the time it's going to be different. And what you see online is not necessarily what you're going to see in the real world out there. It's either going to look worse or it's going to look better. And so you definitely need to not rely online, and you need to actually go in and see homes at the same time. Then the next thing that we're going to talk about, and we'll talk about this after the break, is your strongest offer, because I don't have time to cover it, right now. But, if you're a seller evaluating it, or if you're a buyer making one, looking at the strongest offer is always going to be the best. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So basically, I was going over the tips to help home buyers win. And we talked about, first of all, having the finances. Second of all, choosing the right agent. Then we talked about shopping smarter with tech. And now we're going to be talking about making the strongest offer. Now, there's several ways to make a strong offer. And basically, when it comes down to it, the money that you put down in earnest money makes a big difference in regards to how serious the buyers are going to take your offer. So generally, when we're making offers today, we check off the thing that says that the money's going to be in within 3 days of the seller accepting the offer. In the past, when I first got in real estate, it was over 15 years ago, 18 or 19 years ago, basically what everybody did is that you would get earnest money and present it with the offer. Well, when they would put them into the title company and you didn't get your offer accepted, what happened is that money actually was tied up for probably about 2 weeks because it was a check that went into a title company generally, and as a result of it, they had to wait until it cleared for the full 10 days to make sure that it wasn't going to bounce before they could give you your money back. So that was a lot of time that you couldn't put in offers on other property. And so as a result of that, today we generally put the deposit within 3 days of when the person accepts your offer. And it's 3 business days. And generally the funds are wired to the title company. And so that's one of the first hoops that you have to go through, when you get your offer accepted. But it just makes sense to do it that way because it makes it so that if for some reason there's multiple offers on that property, you're not going to have your money tied up for several weeks and unable to make an offer on the next property because you don't have all of the funds to do that. Because you do want to make a strong offer in escrow, like I said. And, you might even want to consider putting the full amount that you're going to put down. So if you're putting 20% down on the house, when it's all said and done, you might want to consider putting 20% in escrow because the seller's going to know that you're extremely serious. So when you're in a multiple offer situation, it's just a great way to consider and to look at it. The next thing that you want to look at is what you can do in regards to inspections. Now, I'm very strong in feeling like you should do inspections. I'm not saying you shouldn't do an inspection, but you definitely want to get it done as quickly as you can and get everything done on that realm, right away so that there isn't any problem with the seller thinking that you're going to prolong this if anything's going to go wrong because, sellers are skeptical. They're just going, oh my gosh, what's going to come up on that inspection that I'm not aware of? And so as a result of that, they think, okay, this deal could fall apart and it's not solid. So you want to do that as best you can. The next thing on the list that you want to do is that you want to, get the appraisal done as soon as possible. And so I know that some people think that you should wait until the last minute. Some lenders do. I'm not very happy with any of the lenders that do that. In my opinion, the appraisal should be done right away. And because then you're going to know if that's another pain point that could come up, that if the house doesn't appraise, how is that going to be resolved? So a couple of years ago, and I'm going to say a couple of years ago, which is probably like 18 months ago, when there were multiple offers and all of that on every house that went on the market, you really had to waive the appraisal contingency to a certain extent and say that you were willing to pay X amount over what the appraisal came in at. Today, the appraisals are pretty much coming in at market price. And because our market is steady, they're coming in, where they are because the history in the past has been that was the price of what it was. So the appraisals are kind of right on the money. They're not behind. And in the past, that was something that happened is that the market was going faster than the appraisers. And so and they had to do it on historical values. That's just the way that the banks expect it and what they need to have done. So if you were going to get a house accepted, you had to offer above appraised value, and you could put the limit on what that was, on what you could do. Another thing that you could do is an escalation clause that says that you're going to pay X amount over any other offers that they have up to, again, where you're comfortable. So we're never asking anybody to do anything that they're not comfortable with, but basically to do things that are smart to make sure that you get the house. And I know that when I'm looking at, the houses that we've sold and did they sell under market or over market, when we're working with buyers, and sometimes they're under and sometimes they're buyer and over. But basically what it comes down to is that if we can do it so that it's under market, we're going to definitely do that. But if it's over market, you might look at it and say, did we do a bad job? No, we got them the house above the 15 or 20 other people that were trying to get that house. And they didn't overpay for it because that was the market at the time and what they were willing to pay. And if their offer was only like $1,000 above every other offer, basically there were other people that were willing to pay that same amount, but they were smart about how they presented the offer. So like I said, there's many ways that we can, present the offer and make it stronger so that it's the best thing for the seller. Closing dates are another thing that is really important to sellers. A lot of times, they're moving to the next place. Sometimes it's having the house after closing that they can stay in it a couple of days or something like that because they're having trouble moving. So there's all kinds of things that come into play when you're negotiating with the seller that's going to get your offer accepted above other offers. And a lot of times what it comes down to figure out what the seller's looking for is for us just to ask. And when we ask, we find out what they're looking for, and so we can give them exactly what they want if it might be something that didn't matter to us in the first place. So it's really important that you definitely put that best offer forward. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. Remember, if you want to reach out to us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So we're to the point in the show where I'm going to be talking about the home of the week, and I'm actually talking about two homes of the week. And so if you want to live close to somebody, then these are great opportunities. They're actually manufactured homes. They're both double wides. They're both 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and they're in the same neighborhood. Now, this is actually a mother and daughter that are selling the houses because they're looking to move back up north to be close to their families. So that's why they're selling these houses. But they lived in the same neighborhood. They're about 1 minute away from each other, so they're not on the same block or anything like that, but they're in the same neighborhood, and it's a great little neighborhood. It's got a community pool. The one house actually has a pond in the back, so it's just got a great view and everything of it. Both of them have enclosed Florida rooms, and both of them have screened-in rooms as well, the covered lanais. So they're very nice when it comes to that kind of stuff. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. I think I mentioned that, but in case I didn't, I'll mention it again. And in perfect condition in regards to just move in. So if you're looking for an investment, these properties are priced at $240,000 and $250,000. So a great buy for a first-time buyer or an investment. So if it's something that you're interested in, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we can get you all the information. One of them's got a lot of fruit trees, and the other one, they both have water in the back, so it's really nice. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.